Hello, everybody. Welcome again. Today it's the last chapters of chapter Steph, the curious lives of human cadavers. Last time I presented chapter 12, I had issues with the computer, so I had to stop at chapter 10. Now I have to talk. I'm going to talk about chapter 11 and chapter 12, and then we'll wrap it up. And maybe I'll have a next direct stream, live stream, with questions and discussions of all the chapters of the book. Chapter 11. This is what I'm gonna start with today, and the title is "Out of the Fire and Into the Compost, and Other Ways of Ending Up." Other ways to end up. We start at Colorado State University teaching hospital with dead animals, horses, cows, livestock, all that dead, and are stocked in she said in a walk-in refrigerator, which I understood kind of a cooler to be later disposed of in a more economically and environmentally safe way. The method we are introduced to, and that's processes dead animals, tissue digest. And then we know all the author talked about this, and we all know that funeral and memorial rituals are part of mankind culture almost everywhere on earth. And the question that's asked, can human out of practicality adopt such methods? Remember last time we talked about, should we the author asked whether out of practicality can we eat our own dead instead of burying them. It sounds, it's not funny, but we can find it I don't know, I have mixed feelings about the idea. But today she also asked the same question about tissue digest. She proceeded to meet a funeral home owner in Michigan who is also a consultant for Kay and Weber's company in Indianapolis. The company began to be considered seriously by some people after a crematorium scandal in Georgia that stacked bodies in sheds and let them decompose in a pond had been found out. So WR Squared, which is the name of the company, another name for the company I just talked about, Kay and Weber's, offered tissue digesting disposals, and the outcome is 2% to 3% of the corpses remain. That's all what remains, and it's bones, and the rest is liquefied. She said the collagenated bones without collagen are and the rest is liquefied. The whole body is liquefied. The process relies on water and alkali substance, also known lye. William McCabe, the company consultant she talked about, and the funeral owner, introduced earlier in this chapter, described the digester as a pressure cooker with a drainer. And drainer is that brand name for a drain cleaner that sometimes when your sink or toilet or tub is clogged, Sometimes people use it to so it digests the hairballs and all what's clogging the drains. The process is described as economical, environmentally friendlier than decremation, and it is sold to families as water reduction. And even when a lye drainer is to be included in the explanation, the guy said that families will not object. They come to have their own cremated and to attend the initiation ceremony. Tissue digestion will avoid them the heartache. Gainesville, Florida has 5 digesters for anatomy lab leftover, which is euphemized as reductive cremation. The author also witnessed livestock corpses reduced to soapy smell and a fistful of bones you can crumble in your palm in Fort Collins, Colorado, which gave her a better idea about how human digester would be. So then she talks about this book that's called Purified by Fire, A History of Cremation in America, wrote by Stephen Protero, a professor of religion at BU, Boston University, that talks about cremation in America that was initiated in 19th century. It was sold to the people on the ground that is less polluting than the ground barrier. Decomposing bodies create noxious gases that mix with the ground, leak up the air, and create a miasma. So it's like Greek times again. But this is how it was sold to the people, how it convinced some people. And also some people maybe have resorted to cremation out of practicality. Funeral reformers at depth were more outraged by the expansive pagan-like funeral rituals, coffins, hired mourners, wasting land, than with polluting graveyard miasma. This is what she came to the conclusion to. That is how other mortuary utilitarianism campaign was started, such as why not skin the dead and use their skin as leather, or using corpses fat in stream lamps. They use sperm whale fat for street lights. Why not use human fat that's gotten out of corpses in street lights? Some people, like, we're more practical, we can do this, so why waste land, why spend money, why do that? We can utilize this, like recycling the bodies and using them for something that's profitable and beneficial to the living. Or as fertilizers, human compost. And in Sweden, a biologist entrepreneur started a company for technologically enhanced human composting. The country's monarch, the King of Sweden, and the church were on her side. They liked the idea. Human composting, which is not very different from grinding the corpse of livestock and desiccating them, the tissue, which was introduced earlier. It is also based on drying the corpse and pulverizing it. It relies on deep freeze in the body, deep freezing the bodies in liquid nitrogen, then moving to shattering the pieces by ultrasound waves or mechanical vibration, then freeze dry and use as compost for a memorial shrub or tree. or flowers, etc. University Tennessee of Tennessee graduates preceded Mazak, the Swedish biologist and entrepreneur, in human composting. He thought it would be a solution to some third world places such as China, where unclaimed bodies are tossed in pits and burned, or Jamaica. The church in USA has a different approach. The human body or ashes of the human body must be dignified, was the answer she got from the church authority she asked. Now, what do you think? Should we use our corpses as in composting and use them as fertilizers? Do you think that dead bodies buried 6 feet under can make us sick? If so, how come that hasn't happened so far? I mean, we're not exterminated, and people have been God only knows how many years, how many centuries on this planet, and that's how people got rid of their bodies. They buried them, and biological digestion, that's natural, that happens in with earth, and how they mix, and that's it. We are probably living on composting our lands with our own bodies, but in a natural way, mixing with it. But this is my idea. But do you think that's what has been introduced in the book? The author does not she's not campaigning. It doesn't seem like she's campaigning for this idea or the other, but just as she's hustling with the topic, which is a quite novel way of doing it. She's been talking about human corpses, how they have been handled, about where they have been used, and the use of them in science, and then the use of them even in developing the devices we are using in our everyday life, such as cars and planes, by seeing, what can be risky for us, how to improve, how, safety-wise talking. But then in the chapters that have come, like 10 and 11, what's coming next is that she's trying to think, like, in a way, how can we be helpful, more helpful than just being subject for dissections and commercials, into being more like helping in a productive way, such as saving the land for the people, reducing pollution, because although cremation was sold as more as a purifier, it actually does not. It's added to the pollution, the soot, the smoke, the mercury that leaks out sometimes, etc. So, and then there is this way of tissue digestion, which I didn't lie, and it says that it gets rid of lots of things, including bacteria and so forth. And there is the compost by dehydrating the body, desiccating it, and putting it in nitrogen, deep freezing it, then breaking it, shattering it, and then just using it that way. Some of them added some bacteria to it, and I think the mad cow in Britain was started by something similar to that, but they didn't dwell that much on it, although they said like that was caused by the what they fed the cows. Some organic composters, I'm not sure what it was. So As for chapter 12, she titled it "Remains of the Author." The author's remains herself. Will she or will she not? I mean, will she donate her body, or will she, or won't she? So, at the University of California, San Francisco, again, a professor told her that it would be like cheating death, donating one's body to anatomy, for example, because professors of anatomy are the ones who oversee the dissections. And if you ask a professor of anatomy, would you donate your body? Would you be subject for dissection and studies and to improve the life of others? And the professor said, yeah, why, in a way it would be like cheating death. I would be there also. The Renaissance anatomy teachers asked students to have their skull exhibited at the University of Medicine. That's what the author told us. The idea that her skeleton will outlive her and enjoy the sun in anatomy lab filled with loud, joyful students was not bad, she thought. Skeletons are beautiful, but not saggy skin or atrophied limbs. So she thought that the idea would be disgusting of her body, wrinkled and old, there laying on the table and being skinned, etc. But just if she could just give only the skeleton, like after everything has gone, or if there was a way how she could do it, then that would be a good idea. Maxwell lab in New Mexico was the only lab that could make the skeleton by disposing of the flesh, and they switched to insect-based process. Insect-based process, like in more natural way, just allowing the flies and the body feasted on by carnivorous beetles and larva flies, similar to what happens in the body farm in Tennessee. The idea was not appealing. Besides, the shipping cost is on the donor, she said. Even if she had to donate her body, she had to also, her family had to handle the shipping cost. She also learned that skeletons are no longer made in U.S. But were imported from Calcutta. India banned the trade since it was found out that kids were kidnapped, killed, and their skeleton was sold. The Harvard Brain Bank could be the choice. Finally, you do not need brains to go to Harvard, she jokes. So it's just the brain, and then you would be, going around showing off with your Harvard card as a brain donor. She watched a tech slice a 7-year-old brain. It was a frozen one that slashed like hot butter, so disgusting that it just turned her off. She was shown around. Brains were half sliced, frozen, or dipped in formaldehyde in Tupperware. Then she thought about plastination, the process of replacing water in organic tissue with liquid silicone polymer that grant the permanent preservation of one's version of oneself. German anatomist Gunther von Hagens developed the method. He had a whole art body exhibit in England of plastinated bodies. The body world toured Europe for 5 years, similar to the ones you see now here on the screen. And I remember here in Boston, like Massachusetts, there and exactly in Cambridge Museum of Science, they were running around showing posters and ads, banners, and with just bodies that looked like, and I said, are they real? But maybe that was that type of exhibit, similar to the one. It's like the body, and then you have this liquid silicone polymer that grants permanent preservation. It desiccates the body, then it removes all oil from it, all liquid from it, and then adds that different type of liquid silicone polymer, and it turns the body as if it's plastic, and it can last like tens and thousands of years. That's what she said. I have no way how to verify that. She herself cannot verify that, but that's what she was told. And there was those exhibits that people saw, and they were very expensive, but I don't know about the one that was in the Museum of Science in Cambridge, Massachusetts. I saw similar pictures with body posing and all that, and whomever started that type of business in Europe as an artwork also was inspired, said, oh well, people like, even very early scientists like Galen and others had those they draw the body in such in a way that shows like as if they were posing, so that inspired him, they said. She met a professor at the University of Michigan Medical School who was preparing Exhibit Human, The Wonders Within. Exhibit Human, The Wonders Within, Polymer Preserved Bodies and Organs. Not only for this one, he said it was educational purpose, more educational. So they not only like the heart itself, it's the real one, but not the real one. It was polymer preserved and can also last. You can even use it and last, God knows how many years. A plastinated body could last at least 10 years. She learned, and that's what I was talking about. Unless she moved to Michigan, she said, or a plastination lab is created nearby, near where she lives, it would be a hard call for her to do so. Again, the cost of shipping and the cost, and not only that, the cost is on the living. So this time there is nothing that's cost-wise. I'm not sure about environmentally wise, but it's just for the aesthetic and the art, and also maybe for the studies, because the one that was created for educational purposes and the body's anatomy, you could remove the body slice by slice, the layers, and then wash them and put them back, and they can even put some certain kind of buttons on it, and then you press a button and then it opens like flap, and you show what's on top. Possibly imagine you see like the greater amalgam, and then the intestines and everything you need, and you see them layered at a closer look. So maybe that would avoid people. They wouldn't even need more bodies to be donated yet. But that's people want to donate sometimes out of necessity, because they cannot afford the funerals, or they just, so bodies are left there. So they instead of throwing them in pits and burning them, or just throwing them somewhere, they use them for lab studies and anatomy. She then concluded that the only that only the ones that are too much preoccupied with fear of death make arrangements for funerals, or write wills dictating their choices, and then leaving the one left behind with worries and concern about honoring or not honoring the wills they leave behind. Because sometimes a person say, hey, they leave their will saying, I want you just to take me to the crematorium, then scatter my ashes, I don't know where, on top of what mountain or what sea or what garden. And the person that are left behind, they don't share the idea, they don't want to do that. Or, I want to be plastinated or what, So if by the end she decide to will her body to an anatomy labs, which kind of could be a choice, she would love to be remembered for being the one who wrote about cadavers. She said she would be like laying there, and if somebody like said, oh, this is the one that wrote about the human cadavers, the human cadavers, the curious lives of human cadavers, and she thought maybe I would wink at them. If only there was a way I could wink and say, yeah, kind of. Then she would freak everybody out. So this is the book. You see, it's although it's like, it deals with a very not very funny topic, and there's some humor in it, and also very very insightful ideas that make a person think about lots of things. And I want to discuss it more. I will just I'll go live next time and then just discuss all the ideas in a more brief way, and I hope that I will get some response from you. Until then, have a good day, and see you and hear from you next time. Bye.